everyone! Today I'm going to show you how to make this school uniform for a stuffed animal. I know most people are already back in school, but it was a requested video I've wanted to do for a while and it's still back to school season, so let's get started! I'm going to start by making the pleated skirt. I didn't make any patterns for this one because there are only 2 rectangles, and I'll show you how I measured my stuffed animal to get my pieces. I got a full yard of this beautiful blue plaid fabric because it just looked perfect for a school uniform. I also wanted to remind everyone that I'm going to be doing a live stream September 4th at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and I'm just going to be introducing you to all the stuffed animals you see throughout my videos, and if you watch live, you can talk to me and ask me questions through the chat. I will still save it to my YouTube channel though, so if you can't make it live, you can always watch it back later. Now I can start cutting out my pieces, and my first rectangle is going to be for the main skirt. So the length of this is going to be 3 times the measurement around my stuffed animal's waist, plus 2 inches for seam allowance. I know that is a very long piece of fabric, so you may have to sew 2 pieces together. The measurement is so long this time because I'm doing more of a traditional pleated skirt, but I'll also link videos down below where I use less fabric to get a different kind of pleated look. And then the width for this rectangle should just be however long you want the skirt to be, plus a little extra for the hem, but there still will be a belt at the top which will give it a little more length. I made mine 3.5 inches wide, but that was a little bit too short for me, so I'd probably go 4 inches next time. And I forgot to mention the length of my piece was 47 inches. Next, I need to cut out the belt piece, and I'm making mine 3 inches wide since I'm eventually going to fold this in half. And for the length, you'll want to measure around your stuffed animal's waist, then add about 1.5 to 2 inches to account for the Velcro. After both pieces are cut out, now it's time for the not so fun step, which is hemming this entire long main skirt piece. I also want to do the sides all in one go, so I'm first folding over one of the side edges, and then folding over that bottom edge once. And I should have probably folded it over again just to prevent all those frayed edges from showing, but I realized I cut this piece too short, so I needed all the length I could get. After getting all the way to the end, I'm folding that other side edge over and sewing a straight stitch all around. Now it's the fun part where we get to pleat this with a fork. The fork makes sure you get nice even pleats. It took me a while to get the hang of this, so I'm going to skip over those first few pleats. So what you want to do is place your fork about 1 inch from the start or at the end of your last pleat, and then just flip it over once, and then insert your fabric into that last prong, and then turn your fork to the right. And then you can pin that in place and you have your pleat. Now I can just repeat that, placing my fork next to that last fold, flipping it over, inserting the fabric, and then flipping it back the other way. Then I can just do that to the entire thing, and if you did triple the measurement like I did, this method ensures that by the time you get to the end, the skirt should be the right length to fit around your stuffed animal's waist with a little extra so it can overlap in the back. And you can check this measurement as you go. Now I'm just going to sew a straight stitch along the top, and I find it's best to sew against the direction of the pleats. After that, the skirt is looking beautiful, and now we can work on the belt. I'm first going to hem the belt's shorter sides. Now that the sides are clean, I'm going to flip it over and start folding over this bottom edge. I'm also doing this to the top and trying to crease it the best I can. Then I can lay the skirt on top of that folded edge, and then fold the top down over it, making sure that still has a fold so the belt is nice and clean. Then I can just pin this in place and do this along the entire skirt. Now you'll notice that my skirt was a lot longer than the belt, and that's because I didn't make my belt piece long enough, so it was a little tight to put on, but this is completely fine to have some extra on the end. I'm just going to make sure when I attach the Velcro, the other side is going on top of this one, which will hide the extra, and I also need to hem that top edge that's sticking out. Now I'm just going to sew in a straight line across here, preferably starting on that extra end. After that, the last thing I do is add the Velcro. I just cut a little square of Velcro because I'm only going to put it on the belt. Since I want the straight side of the skirt covering the extra, I need to attach the Velcro to the inside of that straight edge. And that means the other Velcro needs to be on the good side of the fabric. I'm going to use a straight stitch to sew around the perimeter of the Velcro. And after that, the pleated skirt is done! I love how this turned out, I think it's super cute, and I'm going to wait till the end of the video to try this on with the rest of the pieces. Next, I'm going to switch backgrounds to work on this white collared shirt. I've already cut out one of this big main piece, 2 of these kind of half shirt pieces. I'd recommend cutting them out with the fabric folded in half so you get 2 mirror images. You'll of course need 2 pieces for the sleeves, and I have 2 curves for the collar, one is skinny and one is wider. I'll have printable versions of these linked down below, and the only difference will be the collars because I ended up cutting these in half later, so the patterns are only half. Now I'm going to start by hemming the bottom of all these t-shirt pieces first. This time I did fold over the edge twice for a neater look. The process of making this t-shirt is pretty much the same as a lot of the videos I've done involving t-shirts. The only thing different is the collar at the end, but if you've made a t-shirt before, this should be a piece of cake. Also, you might not need an open back like I do if you're using actual t-shirt material. Now I'm going to sew a straight stitch along the bottom of all these pieces. Now I'm going to set the back pieces aside and focus on hemming the neckline of this front piece. To make it easier to fold along this curved edge, I'm making a few cuts all the way around. Now it's much easier to just fold over those little sections and pin them in place. It's not the prettiest to look at, but I find this is the easiest way. Then I can just sew around the curve. After that, my neckline turned out a little choppier than I wanted, but because of the collar, you'll only see a little bit of the center, so I didn't redo it. Now I'm grabbing those back pieces again and hemming those inner sides that will eventually stick together with the Velcro. And I ended up adding the Velcro at the very end instead of right here, but you could do it now if you want. After sewing straight down both sides, I'm going to bring my front piece back in. I'm going to lay the pieces good side, matching up the tops of the shirt, and you mainly want the necklines to match up. And now I'm going to sew straight across the tops of both. After that, it should look like this when you flip it good side out, and now I'm going to move on to the sleeves. I first need to hem the bottoms of each piece, and I know I only folded the edge over once this time. I'm sorry I've gone back and forth so much in this video. It doesn't really matter anyway, you can fold it over once or twice. And after using a straight stitch to sew that down, I can attach this to the main shirt piece. So I'm just doing the same process as usual, laying the sleeves good side with the shirt piece, and I'm pinning the curves together as I go. It is normal for there to be extra parts of the sleeves sticking out. After doing that to the other sleeve, I'm just going to sew right where I've pinned. This is what it should look like when it's done, and I'm just going to turn it inside out and set it aside. So now I need to make my collar, and the first thing I need to do is cut both pieces in half. Since up to this point I completely forgot the collar has to open up the back with the Velcro. So after that, the thinner collar should line up perfectly with the outside of the wider collar. I forgot to mention I have these laid good side, and now I'm going to sew around the perimeter of both pieces, leaving the inner curve open. Now I can turn these pieces inside out, and I'm using the end of a paintbrush to help me poke out those corners. Now I can attach the collars to the shirt. With this collar, there is more of a straight side and an angled side. So the one pointing downwards is the angle side, and I marked that on the pattern. But you'll want that to be in the front of the shirt. So basically with the wider part of the collar facing up, I'm wrapping this around the neckline of the collar and kind of folding it over twice so that inside edge is clean. And I soon realized this was easier with the whole thing flipped over, and that it's better to start at the front of the shirt so you can put the collar wherever you want from the start. As you can see, I ended up leaving a pretty big gap between the two collars in the front, but that's because my pieces were a little too short, so I made some adjustments to the final patterns, so you can really add whatever size space you want. And you'll notice if you've seen my how to make a flannel video that this is a different collar than that one. I feel like this one is easier to put together, but the other one's a little bit more seamless. Now I'm going to sew straight stitch around the entire thing. After that, I'm going to flip the shirt inside out and sew up the bottom of the sleeves and the sides of the shirt. So I'm just lining them up, pinning them together, and sewing in that upside down L shape. After that, we are so close to being done, I'm just going to trim off this extra sleeve material. And the last thing to do is add the Velcro if you haven't already. For me, that means the back of the collars will overlap a little, which doesn't look the best to me, so next time I'd probably cut off some of one side of the collar, and then the other side would just go on top and cover that open space up. But for right now, I've just cut a very thin strip of Velcro and I'm placing it on one of the sides. And then on the inside of the other side of the fabric, I'm adding that other piece, and I'm just lining them up to make sure I'm putting in the right place. And then to sew these on, I'm just going to use a straight stitch to go straight down the Velcro. After that, the shirt is done, and the last piece we need is the tie. I already have another video where I show you step by step how to make this tie, so I'm not going to show it again right now. But it's pretty quick and easy to make, and I think just works perfectly with this school uniform outfit. Now I'm finally going to try everything on, starting with the shirt. And the Velcro obviously makes it super easy to put on. And now I can add the tie. And with this one, the only thing I did differently from the way I showed it in the video was having Velcro at the ends instead of just one continuous piece. And this way it's perfectly tight and I don't have to worry about pulling it over her head. And I'm still making sure to tuck this under the collar. And now the last thing to add is the skirt. You can always make this a boy's uniform by doing pants instead of a skirt. I'll link a video on how to make patterns for pants and the process of making them. I think this outfit turned out amazing. I was initially intimidated to do a school uniform and wasn't sure if I'd like how it looked, but I think it turned out to be a really stylish, cute outfit in general. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. And I'm really excited to talk to you all during the live stream tomorrow and hope you can make it. I'll see you next time!